Hi and welcome to Demasked. My name's Frezzman and today I'm joined by horror reviewer Gory B Movie. How's it going, Gory?
It's going pretty good.
Now, you've been, if I remember recently, you were part of Horror Addicts, and then you kind of went off and did your own thing, right?
I'm still on Horror Addicts. We just did a review, I think, the other day for It Chapter 2. Horror Addicts is our family channel
Okay.
that my husband started up, Danny Nightmare started up, and we do that with our son Lulz, our little half-demon masked son. And then Gory B Movie was sort of my own project where I just wanted to do, just something a little bit different, but not change what Horror Addicts is. Because we've been doing Horror Addicts for a while.
Well, I've been rolling through here, and I didn't know Horror Addicts was a family thing. I've been researching your channel, but I haven't had the chance to check out Horror Addicts as a whole. How did the kind of the jump into the horror genre start? Were you guys all always into horror, or was there like a moment where the whole family just kind of got on board?
Well, my husband and I, we both grew up on horror, and that's always been one of the big things that we've had in common. And we started watching YouTube, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but we really like Andre Meadows, who does Black Nerd Comedy.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
if you're not familiar with him, he is just a really cool guy who talks about a lot of 90s and 80s nostalgia, and he just seems he makes it seem easy. He makes YouTube seem easy because he just is so relatable and he talks about stuff we're interested in, but he never talks about horror movies. And we're like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a channel like that, but about horror movies? Because we didn't know of any horror exclusive channels except for occasionally Cinemassacre at the time. And so Danny decided, well, we'll make one. I'm like, okay, go for it. I have no idea how to do that. And he didn't either, but we figured it out. And then we created Horror Addicts.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's all it takes, just a base idea, and then you kind of just build from there.
And the idea was our house we lived in, it was really old. It was built in 1921. And in fact, one time we even had these local ghost hunters that set up all this equipment because they wanted to investigate it. It was crazy. But it had this really creepy attic, and that's where we used to film our videos. And so that's where Horror Addicts came from because it kind of sounded like attic. I don't know. My husband came up with it. I thought it was pretty good.
I like that, actually.
And then all of our names, mine was my roller derby name. My roller derby name was Gory B Movie, and my number was NC-17. So it just became my Horror Addicts name, and now it's my channel name. And I think I get called Gory about as much as I get called the name my mother gave me. And his was his wrestling name because he's a pro wrestler.
Really?
And yeah. And Lulz is just a giggly demonic force, so I think it just fits him.
Well, I mean, sometimes, some of the best monikers come from either both life experiences or even just from general interests.
Yeah. Well, originally, it's funny because Gory B Movie was not going to be my roller derby name. My son was fairly young when I started playing roller derby. I think he was 6. And he really liked Ninja Turtles. And I wanted to just have my son think I was cool. Like, anybody else, it was fine, but I wanted my son to think I was cool. So I was like, I'm going to come up with a Ninja Turtle name. And I was running it by my son, like some of the ideas I had. And he said, that's a terrible idea. They are going to eat you alive because you're too nice. He said, you like scary stuff. You should be like Killer Mommy and be covered in blood or something. And I was like, all right, I like the cut of your jib there, kid. We'll figure something out.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny, I hadn't, I didn't have much information on you guys over at Horror Addicts, but, roller derby, man, that is, that's, I'd say fairly rough, strenuous.
Oh, it's fun. It's the only sport I've ever played where you can full on Wile E. Coyote another girl into the wall to where she leaves a hole in it and you don't have to say sorry. They're just like, oh wow, that was good. It was awesome.
Hey, good job as they're crawling off the...
Yes. I've had it happen to me before. I think once I can't remember how, but I got hit real hard and I smacked a wall and I had like a bloody nose and stuff. And I was like, whoa, that was a really good hit. Nice. I was really impressed.
Man, you really went for it on that one.
Yes. Well, I was primarily a blocker too. So whenever someone could get a really good hit in, I was pretty impressed. My teammates, said that the best thing I was able to do was I couldn't get knocked over very easily. And so I would wear a belt and they would take the belt and use it to throw me into other people. It was so much fun.
Oh, man. Just slingshot you into other people?
Yeah. Yeah, well, because some girls, if you touch them or you try and throw them, they get really scared and they fall. But I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, it was just so much fun. And there's a big camaraderie. I retired a few years ago, but me and my team, the Jawbreakers, we still skate together at least once a month.
Nice. And your husband, is he on WWE? Is he on Raw? On SmackDown?
He has not done anything like that, no, but he's traveled all over the country. He's been to Georgia, Oregon. Primarily, he wrestles in Canada for thrash wrestling. And we live in Washington State, but the laws are really tricky in Washington State. It's not very wrestler-friendly.
Well, I'll be damned. You're in Washington.
Yeah, he needs to throw a lot of shows here, and then they changed the laws around to where it became really difficult. But now, if you have a school, you can throw a show. So he sort of Cobra Kai'd it up, and he started training students because we have our own wrestling ring, and it's pretty interesting.
Oh, my God.
But his wrestling gimmick, because my husband, if you watch the show, Horror Addicts, you might notice he does look remarkably like Ralph Macchio. So his yeah, now that I mention it, huh? Yeah. His wrestling gimmick is that he's Danny Nightmare, the real Karate Kid. He's like Ralph Macchio's stunt double, and he's all cocky, and he's one of those flippy types, you know?
Yeah. Oh, high flyer.
Jumping off yeah.
That I've me and the wife have recently started picking up watching wrestling because it's on Hulu. It's available to stream.
Well, and if you get the WWE Network, I think it's only $5 a month. You can watch all the pay-per-views.
Oh yeah, but we've been trying to catch up because I think the farthest back that they have on Hulu is like mid 2014, and so
yeah, you can go back to like the 80s on the WWE Network. It's crazy.
Great, you
can watch some old school wrestling.
Now I have to get it.
The wrestlings, it's good, and then you could join Danny and I. He has a personal channel as well. And we do predictions on who we think's going to win at the next pay-per-view. And if you lose, you have to do some horrible punishment.
Oh, so man.
You could join us. Join us.
I mean, as it stands, I might even like challenge your husband to a wrestling match. Who knows? I'm not a high flyer, but...
Do you wrestle?
Not professionally.
He can train you.
I understand the basics, but...
Can you take a bump?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's do it. Let's get you in the ring.
I'm at least... So, I was a bit of, like... I wouldn't say an amateur stuntman. Like, I'm not on any videos or credits or anything like that. But I have learned to hit the ground hard and not get hurt.
It's a valuable skill that just not enough people have. You know, again, like my husband and I, we have just a lot of complementary interests. I mean, we both love horror, which, you know, there's just, when you meet another horror lover, it's like you're instantly best friends because there are so few of us. And a lot of people just don't get it. But roller derby and wrestling just kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. Same sort of fan base, the same kind of injuries. So
put those two together, roller derby plus wrestling.
He's done a show like that where there's a bout on the outside of the ring, and then there was a ring at like halftime, but that was before we were together. But that sounds really cool.
Oh no, I mean at the same time.
That would be nuts.
Like doing
awesome.
high flying moves while wearing like the roller skates.
He did some stuff when I played because he was our team mascot. He was Tutu Kachu, which was like a big green gorilla in a tutu. And he was a cheerleader as well, which is like a guy in a tutu. And he would do like different kinds of flips and stuff just to show off.
Well, I mean, my headphones have been calling it quits on me lately. But no, I mean, we actually might be able to set that up because like, as far as Washington goes, I'm not too far. I'm in Oregon.
Oh yeah, whereabouts?
Portland.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you're pretty close then. We're in the center of the state, so a lot of people, since I'm sure this is going to be on the internets, as the kids say, a lot of people think that Washington is all rain and coffee and sparkly vampires, but most of the state is pretty mountainous and warm, and we live right in the center. We live in Wenatchee.
Well, here in Oregon, that's where we've got the rain and the hipsters and the coffee.
Yeah, I know. I've been there.
and as of...
We know your kind.
Yeah, and as of a couple of years, just weed as far as the eye can see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we went to a Tenacious D concert up there a couple of years ago, and we're just like, wow, the people here are different.
Man, it's,
Like, we're cousins in a way, but there's a definite difference between Oregonians and Washingtonians.
Have you heard of the guy who lives around here? He rides the unicycle and plays the bagpipes.
No, but I need pictures of that now.
I'll have to send it to you here in a moment. But my wife and I were going to a Legend of Zelda orchestra.
Awesome.
And we were hanging out near the Keller Auditorium, and there's a big park right across the street, and there's a ton of like statues, and you can't see the other side of the park. And about 20 minutes of standing in line, we hear this like discordant, just like honk across the. Like, what was that? We're like looking at each other in line. What's going on? Then we hear just another honk. What's going on? And we look over and we see the guy. He's in a Darth Vader mask, but from the neck down, he's wearing a Link from Legend of Zelda outfit, and he's on the unicycle, and he has the bagpipes, and he's rolling down the hill on his unicycle.
That's awesome. Actually, the last time we went to Oregon was last year. We went to see Gwar, because we see Gwar every year, but in Oregon, Danny got a chance to be killed on stage. So that was cool, and it was Lawl's first concert, so that was pretty cool.
Have you been to the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I've seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I've seen some live shows, but
those are
they're all over the place.
I've seen some on stage, like some video performances, and I gotta say, I feel like there's this weird bubble that Portland produces where it really brings out the strangeness and the effort to be strange in people.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've seen, certain stage shows in, like, Cincinnati and all these, and it's like, oh, they're trying, but they're not trying that hard. But then, I went to one personally when I was, like, 16, and it was, like, at midnight, just in some back alley part of town at a place called the Clinton Theater. And they really went for it. They're throwing stuff off the stage into the audience, and people are throwing stuff back, and everybody's going crazy.
Oh, yeah, you're supposed to, like, throw toast and stuff. If you see, I haven't got a chance to see this, but if you go see a live showing of The Room, Tommy Wiseau, you throw spoons.
Oh, yeah.
I just like throwing stuff. That sounds great.
Well, my dad's the one who brought me to that show, and he's a little bit of a prude, can be, and so I'm like, Dad, we should bring all these items, all these, like, the toilet paper, and the spray bottle, and the newspapers, and all this, and he's like, no, it's fine, I don't think anybody else is gonna do it, and then we sit down in the auditorium, and we look around, and everybody else has, like, all the props, and I'm like, I think, you're full of it.
Yeah, we tried to do that at our wedding. Instead of champagne, we just cut out little champagne glasses out of toast, and we're like, yeah, you're gonna throw it, but nobody did.
Oh,
like, come on, guys, throw the damn toast.
Just do it.
Just do it.
See, my wedding, I had a relatively small wedding, but it was over in Pioneer Square in Portland, and certain wedding photos. So Portland has a bit of a homeless problem. There's a lot of homeless people here.
I noticed that when we saw Guar, like there's people everywhere.
Yup. And there's certain photos where you can just see a guy sleeping in the grass like 20 feet away.
Well, that's a memory.
Yeah, and like we only noticed it after we got the photos developed. We're like, oh, this is a nice photo. Is that a guy back there?
Oh wow. Yeah, we had our wedding photos taken in a cemetery, so I guess if there was people coming out of the ground, that would be kind of disturbing.
I mean, I'd pay good money to see that, actually.
You just notice in the background, oh hey,
is that an arm?
Walk. Yeah. It's funny when I show people photos and they're like, oh, it's so nice. And they're like, wait, is that a cemetery? I'm like, yep.
You bet.
Yeah, we just kind of did our own thing when we got married. Like, we wanted it to be us, but still not too off-putting for, like, grandparents. So, like, when I walked down the aisle, I had an orchestral version of Smells Like Teen Spirit. So everybody my age was like, oh, fuck yeah, Nirvana. And all the old people were like, oh, this is nice. Orchestra.
What a nice song. Oh, wait.
My son and my husband walked down the aisle to Apocalyptica, but they was covering One by Metallica. But yeah, to them it just sounded like cellos, so they were happy.
Oh my goodness.
Well, people like the cellos.
As long as it's cello, anything's acceptable.
Pretty much. It's a classy instrument.
It makes anything sound classy.
Yes!
Even metal.
Everything. Yep. And you can still headbang when you play the cello, so it's a great versatile instrument.
Oh yes. Well, God, what was the have you heard of that 2-person band called Two Cello? They do song covers on cello, but they don't do like slow, soothing renditions of it. They'll do it full speed. Like they did a Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
Oh, cool.
And so they're just two people on stage, and there's like people in Victorian dress in this nice auditorium. And they're just going crazy on the cello.
Yeah, that's how Apocalyptica started. They were they're from I think Finland or something, but they started as a Metallica cover band, and they just did Metallica, and then they started doing their own stuff, and worked with tons of different artists. But yeah, they're awesome.
So I've got both your solo channel and the Horror Addicts channel open, and I had a quick question. What would you say is your least liked horror movie?
The movie I hate the most?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an easy one. #horror.
Wait. Are you messing with me? Is there really a... Hold on, hashtag...
There's a movie called #horror, and it's just an assault to the senses. It's so awful. Like, it's about cyberbullying amongst a group of female friends. But there are parts of it where the screen will turn into what looks like Candy Crush. It's so bad. It is so bad. I don't think you could pay me to see that movie again. It's just terrible. And it also has that kind of pretentious artsiness to it, to where, like, if you say you don't like it, you know, you're going to have someone tell you, well, you just don't get it. Oh, no, I get it. It's just terrible.
You just didn't pay attention. No, I saw all of it, but it still sucks.
Yeah, it's not... I like a lot of bad movies. I mean, that's kind of what I built the whole Gory B Movie channel on, is that I like some pretty bad movies. I love Uninvited, the movie about the mutant cat that pukes up a smaller mutant cat. Oh, that's all day, every day. But those are movies that are so bad, but they're still entertaining. Yeah. You know, you're still entertained. You're having fun. You know, I think The Suckling is entertaining. The movie about the aborted fetus that attacks everyone in a brothel. That's entertaining. #horror is not entertaining.
Oh, like... Okay, so by your definition, what makes a good scary movie?
Like something that's genuinely scary or just entertaining?
Well, like when you think of the phrase horror movie, what comes to mind?
I mean, I think that's what I love about horror is it's so versatile, and it's the only genre that ever manages to surprise me. Even though I watch more horror movies than anything else, every year there's something where I'm like, yeah, I haven't seen that before. And that's why I love horror. But I think it really just depends on the type of movie you're watching as to what makes it good. You know, for me, what makes a good Full Moon movie and what makes a good Jordan Peele movie are two completely different things. I have different criteria for them. But at the end of the day, I mean, long as I'm entertained, I guess that's the biggest thing, is because I think a movie should be entertaining, and a movie should make you feel something, whether it be fear or it makes you laugh, or, you know, like the new It movie gives you all the feels. It should make you feel something.
So,
if you're sitting there bored and you're just numb, then the movie hasn't done its job.
So I saw It Chapter 2 last night. And I'm trying to get a defense on this, in which is it okay, in your opinion, if you're in a movie theater, to cover your ears?
Yeah.
See?
If you want to.
But, like, whenever I do it, somebody, like, elbows me, like, oh, what are you gonna do? Why are you too scared? I'm like, no, it's just loud. I don't like it. Not a big fan.
Just have sensitive ears. My son's the same way. But I think most movies have something that they're intending to do. And I think a movie succeeds when the audience feels what it is they're supposed to feel. You know, Jordan Peele, he aims to make movies that make you uncomfortable and, you know, that are somewhat socially conscious. He wants you thinking. And if you are experiencing that, then he's done his job. You know, I think Full Moon movies are kind of just like beer and pizza movies. You're meant to watch them with your buddies and laugh. And if you've had that experience, then I'd say it's a good movie. You know, It Chapter 2, the impression I got was that it was something that was really trying to give you a character study, have some, you know, socially conscious issues, but also it was really trying to make you feel all of the emotions. Like, it was trying to tug at your heartstrings. So if you didn't get that experience from it, then I would say, for you anyway, the movie failed.
Yeah, and, like, For me, usually when it comes to scary movies, like, there are certain facets of horror that I watch for different reasons. Like the movie Terrifier. I'm not expecting a character study. I'm watching people die, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he bisects a girl. So, I mean, that one, it's meant to shock you, and it's meant to make you cringe, and it's supposed to be gory, and, you know, you should be having your stomach churn.
Yeah.
It's the movie that, a kind of movie that is supposed to leave you with, like, haunting visuals. Like, you should be seeing that clown's face still. So, I think it did a good job.
Which is funny, because I interviewed that clown.
Oh, yeah, I've met him. That guy's a mime.
He is super nice.
He really is.
Well, like, I messaged him on Twitter, and I'm like, he's an actor, he's probably not going to get back to me. And within, like, 2 minutes, sure, I'm open to an interview. I'm like, oh, wait.
He's down to clown.
But I think, for me, the thing that sells me on a lot of horror movies is, can it make me uncomfortable? Like, the more a scary movie can make me want to stop watching it, that's the more I like it.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of movies that do that really well, especially when you get into, like, your shocking type horror. For me, the subgenre of horror that tends to miss more than it hits is paranormal horror, which is weird because the movies that have scared me the most are paranormal. You know, The Ring scared me, Paranormal Activity scared me, but those kind of movies are only trying to scare you. That's really all they're trying to do, is scare you. So if it doesn't scare you, then the whole movie is a wash usually. They don't usually have a comedic element. They don't usually have a lot of gore. So if it doesn't scare you, then you're not getting anything out of the film. And unfortunately for a lot of us horror fans, it's really hard to scare us.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for, like, the Paranormal Activity series, it falls into this weird category where, like, the first hour and a half of the film is fantastic because it's all just set up and building tension. but then it just collapses in on itself when it starts throwing out jump scares.
For me, the ending of that movie where the demon looks right at the camera, that part creeps me out. Like, it really does.
Well, was the ending, I believe, of the original one where the girl just like jumps at the camera, then it just cuts.
Yeah.
Like, why attack the camera? Like, you don't have any reason to.
I don't know why it would attack the camera, except for that they did say that filming and stuff was going to make it angry and give it more, like, the more recognition you gave it, the more power you gave it. So I always figured it was something like that. Interesting story about Paranormal Activity, though, is I saw that movie before it had that ending. The original ending was a lot different when it was still doing the festival route. And then they showed it to Steven Spielberg, and he was so scared of that movie, he put it in a garbage bag and told them they needed to collect it from his front porch because he did not want that thing in his fucking house.
Just come get it, please.
Yes, but he did say I would change the ending because in the original, you have the whole ending where it's implied that she's killed her boyfriend. Yeah. And then there's that long wait, which I think that part's really creepy too. That long wait where you hear the stairs.
Just the white noise of the house.
Yes. They did a brilliant job of just drawing that out. But then she just sits in the room almost kind of catatonic for like 3 days. Then the cops come. The demon turns a light on and off, and then they shoot her, and then that's the end of the movie. So they ended up making a few different endings to based on Steven Spielberg's recommendation.
Okay.
There's another alternate ending where she slits her throat looking at the camera, but yeah, just her looking right at the camera creeps me out. And again, that's the thing with paranormal movies, when they do scare you, it's so hard to explain like why exactly it scared you. Like The Ring scares me too, and I can't tell you exactly why, but that ending scene, I was like, that bitch is not coming out of the fucking TV. Like, that scared the shit out of me.
Well, I think what gets me about The Ring is like the videotape itself is so bizarrely directed that you like when the footage of
it looks like a Tool video.
Yeah, but when the footage of it is kind of like playing back if the character's watching or something, you almost end up like the character. You're almost like sucked into it, and you're just kind of stuck watching it, and you can't look away.
Yeah. And then it's not why the movie scared me, but I have to say The Ring is, you watch a lot of horror movies and you get to the place where you're like, oh, I would have gotten out of it by doing this, or I would have done this. The Ring is like the one where I'm like, yeah, I'd be fucking dead, because yes, I would have watched this movie, and no, I don't have 2 VCRs. I'm screwed.
Yeah, any like person would have been paralyzed if they put that video on in their living room.
Yeah.
And like that's well, there was one I saw recently that I've been trying to recommend to people, but I don't know if you've seen it. The Invitation.
Is that the one with, I don't want to say it because I don't want to spoil the ending for anybody, but
red lights everywhere?
Yes, the red lights. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
That movie, like, I was watching it, like, waiting for it to just be some, like, vague drama. Like, oh, it's just relationship BS. But then you see the first, like, 20 minutes, you see that girl standing in the hallway smiling at the main character. And
that's a great movie, because I think any movie that makes you question what you think about the world is a good movie. And that movie, it, again, not wanting to spoil it, but it has a very big ending, and you're like, okay, I see where these characters are coming from. I don't agree with it, but I kind of understand it.
I love the sort of the general ramping up of both the back and forth between characters, and sort of it's like the stakes that the characters aren't even aware of. And like there are moments where it's like, well, maybe the main character's just being a dick. Like, maybe he's wrong, and this is all for nothing, But then he finds a laptop, and he's like, oh shit. Oh, I'm totally validated, and then everything hits the fan.
And I think a great horror movie also is a movie where it almost makes a metaphor out of things that really do make us uncomfortable and things that really do scare us. And in that case, there is something just horribly awkward about, gathering, especially with like, exes and such for like a dinner party. And it really played on that, just like how Your Next played on the awful like family reunion type gatherings, like just how terrible they are.
And then that weird like releasing your inhibitions thing.
Yes.
Man, I wish I had some Coke right now. And the guy's like, I've got some. I've got sitting in a cabinet for some reason. It's over there.
And that's what's wonderful about horror is it's like a lot of, movies have like this toy box to draw from, and horror doesn't leave any of the toys in the box. It'll take anything. If you want a horror movie that's got romance in it, there's Shaun of the Dead, there's comedy horror, there's all kinds, and it uses every single color in the palette to make a story.
What?
And I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but I feel like action movies and your standard romantic movies, they're just giving you one part of that.
And like I think a big part of what makes certain horror movies really scary is the idea that like whatever you're up against, you can't possibly fight against it. And there was have you seen Love, Death and Robots?
Not yet. I tried to watch it when it first came out, and Netflix was like, too many people are watching this. I just haven't gotten back to it.
Super good. It's a like a full-on anthology series. None of the stories have anything to do with each other.
Yeah, I've heard it's amazing. Apparently, so many people were watching it that there wasn't enough left for me to watch. Netflix.
But if you get the chance, there's an episode I very highly recommend, especially because it is horror-based. It's called Beyond the Aquila Rift, and it is fantastic. It's just,
yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I think horror is also interesting because it says a lot about us as people, and even where we're from in the world. Like American horror movies, especially when you look at like slashers, which are very American. They deal a lot with like repressed sexuality and this whole fear of our neighbors, like the people we live by, the people we go to work with, like that's an American fear.
And even concepts that are foreign to us, like ideas that we aren't fully aware of, are terrifying.
Yeah, and then also the idea that when there is a monster in an American movie, the characters will usually figure out a way to destroy it. Whereas if you look at like Asian cinema, they think that the idea, like if you look at movies like Ju-on or The Ring or any of those movies, they think that the idea of being able to destroy something like that is completely ridiculous. Like you can't. You could just maybe pass it on to somebody else, but you could never truly like destroy it.
Yeah, and there's almost that moment of coming to grips with like, this might be my fault.
Yeah.
And God, there was I can't remember the name. It was a Spanish horror movie. It was a really good one.
Which one?
Baby's Room. Have you seen Baby's Room?
I haven't.
Oh, it's this really interesting idea of like, it's a horror movie, so there is a threat, as most horror movies have. But what if that threat hasn't come to pass yet? Like the threat hasn't happened, and there may be no way to stop that threat from coming.
Sort of like a prediction, or
not even a prediction. Like the main character is seeing events, not like in like flashes, not like That's So Raven, flash forwards, but it's like he's seeing like himself around the house in events that haven't come to pass.
Okay.
And it's genuine.
So sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, but there's no moment where it's like, oh, it's written on this stone tablet that it's me.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Like most of the movie is him desperately trying to figure out, because the reason it's called Baby's Room is because it has a lot to do with like this infant child that he has. And it's, I mean, I wouldn't say it's too big of a spoiler to like it's not, it's not like I'm not giving away the ending is what I'm getting at, but like it kind of pushes the reason why it's called Baby's Room. He's like, oh, I bought this baby monitor to check on our kid, and then he just hears a voice as loud as can be in the middle of the night go, I can't take this anymore. Just, that's it. And it just stops.
Oh.
Yeah. And then he's like, alright, don't know if somebody snuck into the house. Let's put a video baby monitor in there. And then he's laying in bed one night, and he's kind of waiting for something to go wrong, and then he rolls over and looks at the baby monitor, and he sees himself sitting in the baby's room staring at the baby.
I'm gonna have to check this movie. Yeah, that sounds cool.
It's super great, and it takes its time, and there's no big, like, I hate movies with, like, jump scares with, like, big musical, like, wah,
Yeah, my son hates that, too. That's his biggest horror movie pet peeve.
Like, I'm not even against jump scares.
I don't mind when it actually is effective, like It Chapter 2. I mean, I'm mentioning it a lot just because I just saw it. But it had a lot of very effective jump scares because I don't jump easy. Yeah. I get annoyed when it's a loud noise and it ends up being a cat. That annoys me to no end.
Or somebody walks by the camera and you just hear like, ah!
Yeah, a movie I saw that did it really badly was Greta, where it was just tons of jump scares, but nothing was happening. It was just playing a loud noise, and oops, I surprised you. And oh god, Greta was awful.
Oh no, I accidentally bumped into you. What a coincidence.
It's so bad. You know what I have to say? My favorite movie of the year is so far. Have you seen Ready or Not?
Ready or Not? Is that with Margot Robbie?
It's Samara Weaving, who was in Mayhem, and she was in The Babysitter.
Okay, Ready or Not.
She can do no wrong. She is pure horror gold.
I still need to see Mayhem.
Yeah, Mayhem was great.
Because I'm a big fan of Stephen Yeun.
Yeah, he is great in that. But Ready or Not was really, really good. It had that great mix of horror and, had a lot of comedic elements to it, and it was action-packed, really good. But it's a woman who, it's her wedding day, and she's marrying into this very affluent family who's essentially kind of like Parker Brothers. Their whole wealth is built on that they made board games. And you end up finding out that the reason when they're so wealthy is apparently the ancestor of theirs who started the whole board game thing. He had made a deal with the devil. And the deal is that when they marry somebody, they have to draw a card. And it could be something stupid like Old Maid. And then on that wedding night, they play the game and that person's in the family. But if it's hide and seek, they need to sacrifice that person to, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically the devil.
Nice.
So she pulls hide and seek, and she has this whole family of people hunting her down, but there's a lot of like catches. Like, they are only allowed to use weapons that were available during great grandfather's time. So like, this guy has a crossbow, and he's trying to figure out on his phone how to use a damn crossbow.
Oh, that's great.
It's so funny because they're not killers, but they have to do it. So there's this comedic element to it, but it's also really good, and it also kind of brings back that fear of when you're a little kid and you're playing hide and go seek. That like anxiety. So it's really good, and it's got what's his name? Adam Brody, the guy who was in the OC and Jennifer's Body. That guy is so funny.
I need to catch up on scary movies as a whole, because like there was a time where every movie I watched was a scary movie, and then I didn't fall out of it. It just wasn't as available to me as as it could have been. But now with Netflix and Hulu, I'm definitely trying to catch up.
The other movie I saw this year that I thought was really good was Midsummer. That movie's just a trip.
I've been hearing a lot of good things about that.
Yeah, it's a trip. Like there are very few movies that give you that experience where you feel like you've been drugged. And Fear and Loathing is a great one. And definitely Midsummer, like the characters themselves are drugged, and you really feel like you're in it with them. Like just the way they do the camera angles and stuff, it's just very well done, to where it just fully immerses you in this experience, which gets very crazy very fast.
Well, there was want to.
And he's by the guy Ari Aster who did Hereditary. So
Oh,
if you've seen that one, then you kind of know what to expect. He has no limits.
I'm down for No Limits. I'm down for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, the ending of that movie, it's insane.
Well, there was a movie that I didn't realize got a sequel recently. It was
The Car?
Hmm?
The Car?
No, it was.
Oh, sorry, I just like playing these games. But The Car did get a sequel after like 20 years and it's crap. But, you know, it's interesting that it got one.
It was the film, I'm not sure what year it came out. I'll have to look real quick. But it was the movie Resolution.
Oh, yeah, no, that was last year. It's The Endless.
Yeah!
Which is really interesting because when Resolution came out, we go to Crypticon every year and we're panelists at Crypticon. And I have a lot of buddies who are kind of like hipster horror fans. Like, if it's not an artsy horror film, they don't like it. And they were all raving about Resolution. And I watched it, and I was like, I don't get what the big deal is. I don't like it. And I kind of stood by that. And then I saw Spring, which was by the same filmmaking team, and I thought that was incredible. And then The Endless came out, and it actually made me like Resolution. Like, the way it pairs with Resolution, I'm like, okay, I kind of get it now. Like, I felt like the ending of Resolution was kind of a cop-out, and I feel like a lot of it was just kind of irritating to me. Like, some of the characters I found kind of annoying. But The Endless made me really appreciate that movie. Like, it's just a great companion to it. And it really almost kind of works with Spring as well. They've created this whole kind of Lovecraftian world that I just find really fascinating.
Is Spring part of that kind of contained universe?
It can be. I mean, if you Spring, have you seen Spring?
I have not, but it's okay if you let some stuff slip.
It's so good. It's so different. But this guy he's been taking care of his sick mother, so he hasn't really been enjoying just being young and 20. And then she finally dies, so he goes, I believe, to Italy. And he meets a girl, and he likes the girl, and she's like, yeah, I'll have sex with you, but I don't want to go out with you. And he's just like, what? Like, what? You know, he's trying to figure her out, and it's just, he can't. And then you see these things, and you're like, okay, is she a vampire? Is she a werewolf? What is her deal? And she's not any of those things. She's like this Lovecraftian type creature, and she I don't want to like spoil the whole mythology for her, but basically what she is would work with like the concept of, you know, the gods that work are in the Endless.
The observer kind of thing.
Yeah, it pairs well.
Okay, yeah.
Because she's kind of like a Lovecraftian creature, and most of them are very godlike. So,
well, like that's for all the things that I like parts of Resolution because it really took its time to get where it was going, and like that's something I can really enjoy about a horror film instead of it just being, oh, here's this one thing and then everything starts to just careen downhill.
I think it's also scary because, you know, we know about like Jonestown and stuff, and then there's the movie The Sacrament, and it's, you know, our natural response when we see something like that is, well, they're crazy.
Yeah.
And I think it's really scary when they're not crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and in The Endless, they're not crazy. What they believe is real.
Yeah.
I saw a short film with the gal who was in Orphan Black in it, Tatiana Maslany. I could be wrong with the name. But it was the same kind of thing. It was a short film, and her lover they're supposed to like take some poison, and then they're gonna like ascend to some other plane or something, and you're like, oh god, this is like the worst thing ever. And she gets an audio tape saying that she's the one who has to stay behind to get the next group, and it's mostly about her relationship with him and how they don't want to be separated. And you're like, oh, this is so unfortunate because it's all for nothing because they're crazy. You know. And then she does all this stuff, and then she ends up going back for him, and he ends up not going with the rest of them. But then you find out that they were right. They have all like all the people disappear. It's really creepy.
Well, like I think like bringing it back to that movie, The Invitation. I think that's another way of showing like the gentle ramping up of stakes, because like that movie presents it like all of the events that are happening in the film are only happening in that house.
Mm-hmm.
And then they walk outside and you just see the red lights. And it's like, oh god, it's like the entire neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's creepy too because it gives you that feeling of you're just not safe.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's a very American fear that you can't trust your neighbors. But yeah, when you see something like that on like a global scale, it gives you that feeling that a lot of us who, you know, experienced it felt like when 9/11 happened. You just don't expect something like that to happen. You don't expect to feel that unsafe in your country because you live in America. You know, things like that don't happen. And, you know, the invitation was like the same way. Like, well, it's just this house. Okay, they're crazy. And then you see that it's everyone and you're just like, you know, it's so bizarre.
Just like, and it, like, from what I could tell, the idea of like the red light was not only to signify that, you know, stuff's already set in motion, but maybe to show that it's already kind of too late.
Yeah, and I think it was also kind of showing like a solidarity, but up between the ones who had been converted.
Yeah, and so, but by the time they see all the red lights, like, from what what he sees on the laptop, there's a time limit. You know, it's, oh, by the end of the night, you know, you gotta go. But then you see all the red lights, it's like, oh, then all those people might already be dead.
Yeah, and what was cool about that is, I think, like, a great villain, you know, you maybe don't agree with them, but when you can see their point of view, when the movie is able to make you see their point of view, and you're like, okay, I kind of understand them, it makes it that much better, because it makes it scary in the fact that you're able to relate to somebody so, you know, off the rails, but it's also just, it gets you more invested.
Well, I think, now, do you watch, superhero movies that often?
Yeah.
So I
have a teenage son.
Well, I'm, you know, personal taste and whatnot, but
I like movies.
But I like what I think makes a good villain for a superhero movie is like for even a minute you can like, all right, I see where you're coming from. I get that. Like you're wrong when it comes to, you know, affecting everybody, but I can at least understand it.
Yeah, I haven't seen Spider-Man Far From Home. My son says it's his favorite movie of all time. That's how he feels about Mysterio.
That's a good one.
But a lot of that comes down to what Joseph Campbell wrote about in The Hero with a Thousand Faces and the rest of his work, where he said that essentially human beings have always told the same story, you know, from the Bible. You know, it's all the same thing. I mean, even look at like the Matrix in the Bible. It's the same damn story. It's this whole hero's trial. And what he said about the difference between the hero and the other, who is essentially the villain, is that the other is the hero if they had made one different decision. So George Lucas worked with Joseph Campbell a lot when he did the Star Wars movies. And so the idea is, what if Luke gave into the dark side? You would get Darth Vader. It's one decision that's different. Beyond that, they're almost exactly the same. They grew up the same. They had a lot of the same ideals. But that one decision is what separates them.
Or even the division of like experiences, because sure, both, you know, relating to Luke and Vader, you know, both of them have suffered loss, but for wildly varying reasons. Like the reason that, you know, Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen died is because the Empire were looking for the androids, but you could argue that Anakin's mother died for no reason other than getting sold to Tusken Raiders. And that's, you know, kind of what pushes Vader is like, you know, oh, they died for no reason. Why should they be given mercy?
And I think ultimately in a lot of these, especially superhero things, the hero has to come up with a code because eventually they don't understand what makes them different. You know, like Luke is pushed a lot too. He gets his hand cut off by his dad, you know, and he, you know, also, you never dealt with it in the movies, but dude, you made out with your sister. I mean, the man suffered, but he didn't go to the dark side. Yeah. And because he's got some kind of moral code, but I think a good one is Batman. Batman and the Joker are very, very similar. They're both pretty fucking crazy, and they're both more comfortable in the, under the guise of their mask, the face paint or the cowl, than they are being around normal people. They have more in common with each other than they do, people on the street. But Batman, after his whole Cult 45 days, had to have a code where he does not kill people, and he gets pushed on that all the time by, various people he works with, but he can't cross that line, otherwise there is no difference between him and the Joker.
Well,
and he can't have that.
Well, have you seen Batman Under the Red Hood?
Yes.
There's that moment where he's explaining to Jason, like, if I do subject him to everything he's done to me and anybody I've ever loved, I won't come back.
Exactly.
And, I totally understand that, but boy, is Batman way more effective if he would kill somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. No repeat offenders.
Well, like, the Flashpoint Batman, where it's Thomas Wayne, and he's he has guns on him all the time. And there's a moment, I believe, in the animated version.
Yeah, Batman originally had 2 Colt 45s and killed people all the time.
But, the thing is, that there are certain, heroes that I think would make better villains. And,
they did that with Superman in the Injustice series.
And it's really funny you mention that, because I was recently... Have you heard of Comic Storian on YouTube? Mm-mm. He does dramatic readings of comic storylines and kind of puts them into, digestible chunks so you're not reading a 500-page whatever. Mm-hmm. And he did, over, a couple of years, did the Injustice comics for the first game. And, playing the game, you get a sense of why Superman is evil. But with the comics, you get a sense of the lengths he's willing to go to prove that he's right. And that's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, because he is a very convicted person. He has, when he's good, he has conviction in, what's right and what's the American way and all that. And when he's bad, it's the same, but for different ideals. By the way, have you seen Brightburn? That movie was great.
I still need to, although that film, I'm not the most financially reliable, so I can't go to the movies that often. And so, Brightburn had been out for a while. I'm like, I'll just watch a summary, because I was getting tired of waiting. So I'm like, I'll just figure it out.
Yeah, we pretty much only see horror movies at the theater, but like I said, it's the thing that bonds my husband and I. So when it's date night, it's a movie night. And you usually see them all on Horror Addicts, because we'll usually do it. Let's go see. But what impressed me about Brightburn, when I saw the trailers and stuff, I was like, I felt like I was worried that they were trying to get that, that Marvel money, that big superhero money, because superhero movies are so big right now. And I thought, well, if they're trying to get that audience, they're not going to make a horror movie. They're going to shy away from making a horror movie. And I went in there with very low expectations, because I didn't feel like it was a movie that was going to be meant for me as a horror fan. Oh, fuck, was I ever wrong? Yeah. It takes a lot to make me cringe. That movie had some kill scenes in it where I was like, oh, sweet baby Jesus. I need to cover my eyes. Well, it was so good.
Well, it has...
And again, with the whole bad guy you can relate to, you get this kid. You get that this kid is not a bad kid, but he really has no control over what's going on.
Yeah, nor does he understand, certain social situations, which kind of becomes a detriment to what he does later,
Yeah. And they kind of teased at the end, they talked about, a witch with, a lasso, which was kind of Wonder Woman.
and Crimson Bolt from Super.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of would be down for a Brightburn evil superhero universe.
So there was, how do I put it? a lot of the advertisements I see are on Twitter, because I don't have cable. I don't see much of a...
I always get them on YouTube. Those because I avoid. I will watch the first trailer for something, but I feel like trailers show too much.
Yeah.
So I tend to avoid them after the first one. But then YouTube will give me an unskippable ad, and I'll just be like, "Curse you, YouTube!"
Well, like with I feel like a lot of films, a lot of horror films, don't get a lot of good marketing out of Twitter, because they have those, portrait mode trailers that have like a shock stinger and then it goes into the actual trailer. But some of them, it's just like, oh look, here's a jump scare, and then oh, that's the movie, and then the trailer's over. But with Brightburn, like, it had very well self-contained advertisements on Twitter. Like, it had...
Yeah, they did a good job, and it had a great cast too. I mean, that movie's just all around, it's a great film.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, I wasn't, like, I've heard it, what's it called? I've heard it, people try to boil it down to just like, oh, what if Superman were evil? I'm like, well, sure, but they're probably doing more than just that.
Well, and they really equate it a lot to, like, wasp, because I guess in the movie it says there's certain breeds of wasps that will make other species raise their young. And so they say, like, that's basically what's happening with this character here. What if there was evil aliens that looked like us that made us raise their kids until they were ready to take over the world? And then they'd be activated. And that's what this kid is. And so it's like, these people, we've always seen the Superman story from, like Mom and Pa Kent, like, oh, they wanted a baby and one fell from the stars. And what if they were duped into raising an evil race's spawn?
See, what I like about, from what I've seen about the family dynamic in Brightburn is, like, there's this sort of not accepting that the kid's evil, at least from the mother's side, but then the dad's like, that kid's fucking crazy. Like, we gotta do something? Like, what?
That's what I liked about it, too, because another thing I really want to see, being a mom, because I'm a mom, and there's a lot of, even in horror movies, which is disappointing, but there's kind of the stigma of what a mom is, how a mom dresses, how a mom speaks, what she likes. And I feel like we keep getting the same kind of mom in a lot of movies, and there's not a lot of diversity there. And I like that in this movie, you have these parents who are a little bit punk rock. Like, she's got some pink hair, and, she's just, she's a cool chick. But
she's a person, yeah.
She's a human being. Yeah, exactly. She gets pissed off, but she's also a good mom. You can be somebody like that who likes what some might call alternative culture and stuff and not be Donna Reed and still be a good mom. And she's a damn good mom. But her kind of standing point with that is that her parents gave up on her. Like, you get the impression that, because she is who she is, her parents gave up on her. And they didn't care about her. And so you understand why she won't give up on her son no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, and I watched that as a mom, and, if my son were to do something horrible and unspeakable, I still, even if my son was, like, in prison for doing something awful, I'd still go see him all the time. It wouldn't change the fact that I love my kid.
Yeah. And I feel like that is, like, and I'm, like, how do I word it? It's, it feels like a very much thing that's directly tied to parents, where it's like this, like, Brightburn puts it to its greatest extreme, where, like...
Well, yeah, because the love you have for your child is unconditional. I mean, no matter what they do. Like, I saw this really, sad, tragic TED Talk from one of the mother of one of the Columbine shooters, and it's just so sad because she's so sorry for what her kid did. Obviously, she never wanted anything like that to happen, but she still loves her kid. Even though he did something so awful. And, I mean, that's the thing. You can't turn it off, even if like, it's hard. And it makes you wonder, well, where's your breaking point? At what point can you say, that you're going to turn your back on somebody that you supposedly love unconditionally? And, like, for the dad in that movie, that threshold is a lot easier to get to than it is for the mom. I mean, he still loves the kid too, but he's like, yeah, we're gonna have to kill the kid.
Well, even then, from like, it seems like from, minute one when they find the spaceship, he's like, this is kind of messed up. And she's like, oh, look, it's a baby. He's like, but this is this isn't right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it makes you wonder why Mom and Pa Kent were so quick to be like, yay, baby. I'd be like, scary. Well, there's a movie called The Children. Not the trauma one, a one that came, I think, 2013. But I think it was really good because the kids, they start to get sick. And then it starts, the younger they are, the earlier it starts, but eventually works its way up to like even teenagers. But they become homicidal. And the reason they are able to kill everybody is because nobody wants to attack a little kid, especially not their own. And I watched that movie and I was like, yeah, I mean, physically, yes, I could probably overtake a child, but I don't know if I could. It's a lot easier to fight back when it's like a guy with a chainsaw, Yeah. I mean, your odds are slimmer, but it's harder when it's a kid. Like, it's ingrained in us to protect children, especially our own.
Well, like, I feel like it's kind of, it puts it in a different lens. It's like, oh, is it somebody else's kid? Of course I'm going to fight that kid if I need to.
Yeah.
But if it's, like, my own kid, then that's like...
Oh, yeah, zombie kid, I'm going to punt that little bastard.
Yeah.
But if it's my zombie kid, I don't know. We'll work out something where he's, like, in a shed and we play video games, Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it turns into Ed.
Yeah. I just love my son.
Oh. Lost audio on your side.
You can't hear me?
There we go. Now you're back. It got like really quiet and just kind of stopped there for a second.
Well, I have it all recorded.
Good.
On a separate thing. So there you go.
What?
Because of the technology.
But like, I think one of the like, I'm not a big fan of like the zombie movie genre, as it were.
The zombie thing, it's really frustrating for me because I've been saying for like the last 5 years, I'm done with zombies because you get one, they're cheap to make. Yeah. And so a lot of people make them and a lot of them are shitty. Yep. And then you watch them and you're just like, fuck it, I'm done. No more zombie movies. And then every time I see it, a really good one comes out. I'm like, God fucking damn it. But yeah, I was done when Shaun of the Dead came out. I'm like, oh, that's really good. And yeah, every so often one comes out, I'm just like, that was really good. But it's hard. I want to see Zombieland too. I do.
Well, I think what makes Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead work, and I feel like a lot of other zombie movies try to do and just kind of fail at, is the idea that it's a zombie movie, but the focus should be on the survivors.
Exactly.
And the problem is with a lot of modern day horror movies.
That's why The Walking Dead, I think, was so successful.
Yeah, but nowadays it's like they've been fighting zombies for years, but they still don't know what crunching leaves in the distance sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? And then one just falls out from behind a tree and bites somebody on the neck. It's like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah.
But like the original, even the remake of Dawn of the Dead, where there are there are scenes where you see zombies, but you rarely see like all of them the entire film because it's very much focused on the people inside the mall.
Yeah, I liked the remake a lot. I thought it was really good.
And like I think that's what adds to like Shaun of the Dead's comedy, is because it kind of takes that premise of Dawn of the Dead, oh, we gotta grab our loved ones and go hole up somewhere and wait. But then, but Sean's ideas are so nearsighted that it's...
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna go to the Winchester and wait for all of this to blow over.
Yeah.
And it's like...
That movie, though, it's so perfectly written. Like, I mean, everything comes back at the end. Like, it's so clean. It's so good.
Well, there was this... have you ever seen the show Psychoville?
I watch League of Gentlemen. I just started watching that with my husband, and we haven't quite finished it yet. But when we're done with it, we're gonna watch Psychoville.
I saw that when it was coming out, and boy, is that like a different strain of, I wouldn't say scary, but like almost like Halloween spooky.
Yeah.
And like almost all of the actors in that show, all of the main cast, were in Shaun of the Dead. But here's the thing: it wasn't any of Sean's group. It was all of his friends' group.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember the clown character. It was like Tickles or something like that. Something weird.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but it's the same guys that do League of Gentlemen, which League of Gentlemen has a lot of horror elements to it, like with tubs and such. So
now hold on, League of Gentlemen.
They did that before Psycho.
I see that. Yeah. I was gonna say.
But in League of Gentlemen, it's like the small town, and on the outskirts of it, there's a shop. But when people come here, they're like, "Are you local?" Well, we only have local things for local people. It's like this, elderly couple. And, if you're not local, they kill you. And they have, like, a son upstairs who's, they've turned him all feral. And, they call women no-tails.
Oh, my God.
They're so disturbing.
Well, there was that, what was that show that they did? Oh, my goodness. It was like a comedy show, but then they did this really good, like, Halloween practical joke thing. God, like, okay, that's gonna bother me, but I'll try to give a basic rundown, see if you remember. But they were trying to make this TV show. It was for like a whole episode for a Halloween special, and they're trying to make this TV show that's like the most boring thing ever, where it's two guys sitting at a table just talking about their day. And it aired live, and that, like, people on Twitter were messaging them, they're getting emails and phone calls to the station. They're like, boy, that show sucked. That was a terrible show. Like, what was that even? I'm like, well, sorry, we'll try harder. Have a good night. And then the episode ends on air, and then the camera glitches out, and it cuts back to the scene of that dining room, and there's nobody there. Clearly, it's after they've wrapped filming. And then it cuts to them backstage, and they're watching like the monitors, and they're like, wait. Like, why is that camera on? Are we live? What's going on? And then it just slowly descends as everything goes to hell in a handbasket.
I have no idea what it is, but it sounds good.
It, like, I wish I saw...
You have to tell me when you remember.
Yeah, I'll have to look around, because I watched a video that was, like, exploring that, and I couldn't, for the life of me, remember.
Oh, I'd like to know what it is now. So it's not normally a horror show, but they had a Halloween special?
Yeah, it's usually like a comedy show, like a British comedy show. But then they since it's the same people from League of Gentlemen, they did like a horror special where it's like actually scary.
Oh, it's League of Gentlemen? Like the same guys?
Yeah, same I think same main guy. I don't know what his name is. Let's see, Reese Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton. I think the show's called Inside Number 9.
Oh, yeah? No, I've never heard of it. I'll have to check it out, though.
But their Halloween special apparently was terrifying. I'm gonna have to go find
on League of Gentlemen, when they have Halloween specials on there, it goes full-blown horror. So, League of Gentlemen, it's for the most part a comedy show, but it's got a lot of horrific elements to it, because the guys behind the show who also did Psychoville and this other one you're talking about, they're big horror movie fans.
Well, like after I saw Psychoville was like the first time I ever saw Shaun of the Dead, and so when the two groups were passing by each other, I'm like, is that the clown? Well, the guy's just walking past. Wait a minute.
That's awesome.
I need to catch up. I need. Could you recommend any good scary shows?
Scary shows?
Yeah.
It's not always horror, but I like Black Mirror a lot. I think that's a good one.
Okay.
What kind of thing are you looking for?
Uncomfortable horror. Not a ton of jump
There's
scares. Maybe a slasher.
for uncomfortable horror. There's a show that was on Netflix called You, and it's this guy, and he narrates it a lot because it's all from his point of view. But he's stalking this girl. Like, he's convinced himself that he's like in love with her, and you know, he's you know, you see all the things that go into him, like, you know, making up this whole facade to like kind of lure her in and stuff, and then when anybody gets in the way, he kills them. And yeah, so that one's pretty good. Like, he's got this vault underneath the bookstore where he works, where it's like sealed and refrigerated to preserve old books, and so he like keeps a guy down there. Like, that was pretty disturbing. And it makes you kind of wonder, like, how much of what he perceives is real, because he's clearly insane.
Oh, have you seen Maniac, the Elijah Wood one?
No, I haven't. Oh, wait, no, I have seen Maniac. I thought you meant the TV show. No, I have seen that one, the remake. Yeah. That was good.
I really liked that one.
Yeah, that was a great remake. Other scary shows that I've seen. Channel Zero is pretty good. I think the later seasons are better than the first season.
Is The Mist any good? I keep seeing.
Haven't seen that one. I've heard it's good, but I haven't seen it. Obviously, I think Stranger Things is great. I'm sure you've seen that one.
I've caught up on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Stranger Things is great. Do you have kids?
I do not. I have a cat.
There's a show that's kind of like Are You Afraid of the Dark, from when, like, you know, those of us who were teenagers in the 90s were young. But it's called Creeped Out. That one's on Netflix right now. It's meant more for like your kind of middle school group, but it's got some pretty good stories in it. Into the Dark is on Hulu, and they have like movie length episodes. They're about an hour long, but those are really good. It's like an anthology series. And then the new Twilight Zone that Jordan Peele is doing has been really good.
Where's that at?
The new Twilight Zone is on CBS, I think.
Oh, man. I don't have cable.
I just watch it online because who the hell has cable?
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen the MTV Scream series?
I watched the first 2 seasons, and then they did a Halloween special, and then they this year rebooted it, and they did kind of what they did with the movie Thriller. They did it all like, you know, POC cast and everything, but I've heard it's crap. Like, I have a friend who was like really excited to see it because he's, you know, he's black and he doesn't see a lot of all POC slasher type things, and he's like, nope, not what we wanted. So I'm like,
good try, but no, man.
I don't know. I mean, the other ones were kind of entertaining, but they weren't quite Scream, and I just don't... now they're bringing back The Mask, but I think they just need to give up. I think it's just not going to happen.
Well, the thing is, like, the entire idea, at least for, like, the Scream movies, is like, alright, one of the people you've seen throughout the film is the killer. Like, one of the friends... You know.
Yeah, well, that's what they did the first couple seasons. Scream Queens is one that was really good the first season. That one's over now, but I liked the first season a lot. It was pretty funny. Ash vs. Evil Dead just finished up. That was a good one.
Yep.
Hemlock Grove. Not enough people watched that. The guy Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise, he did that before he did It. And Hemlock Grove, the book and the TV show, are both fantastic. Haunting of Hill House on Netflix is really good. I feel like Buffy, I mean, that's just still the greatest TV show of all time. And
I need to catch up.
Supernatural's still going on. That one's great, especially the Scooby-Doo episode. For kind of a fun, more of a like a procedural cop show for horror fans, my son and I like iZombie.
Okay, yeah. It is zombie.
Santa Clarita, that one just got canceled, but it had Drew Barrymore in it, and she's basically a zombie. That was really good. Castle Rock came out last year. That was good, too. That's disturbing if you want something kind of just unnerving.
Well, that's a rough sentence to end with. It's just like, oh yeah, that show's good. Also, it got canceled, but it's pretty good.
Unfortunately, Netflix, it used to be like they had a show and it was never going to get canceled. Like, a lot of the shows went to Netflix, and it seemed like they everything they did was gold and nothing got canceled. And then this last couple of years, they've just been purging everything. So, like Santa Clarita Diet, there's a lot of people who liked it. I thought it was really good, but they canceled it. I don't know why.
Or like how they got rid of, Daredevil, the Punisher.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought those were all pretty good, especially Jessica Jones. I liked that one a lot.
Well, I just like them. They're more. I think for all of them, they're more recent seasons. I don't know what happened, man, but boy, did that go off the rails for some of them.
Yeah. Another one that's good is Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is based on the comics. The whole Archie horror comic series is gold right now. I love everything they're doing. Afterlife with Archie, those are all fantastic, and the show's great. That's a good one.
There's another I need to get around to watching Twin Peaks. I don't know if that'd be considered horror, but...
it's funny that you mentioned that because I just started watching that, which is weird because I live in Washington State. I've been to the cafe, but I just started watching it. I'm on season 2 now, and so far it's pretty good. It's different, but it's good. The Wolf Creek show was good. Okay. A lot of people like Bates Motel. I haven't finished it.
Well, the thing is with the what's it called, the Scream series.
Oh, American Horror Story is another great one, of course.
I've been so gently falling off the wagon for American Horror Story. Just like imagine you're stepping out of a car like with every new season, like. Like put the foot on the ground outside of the car. Like,
the new one though, the 1985, I think it is. It looks like it's gonna be like an 80s type slasher type thing. I think it's gonna be cool.
Okay.
I mean, it's basically like a movie, and I've never seen a season of theirs I haven't liked. Though I haven't seen the last one, Cult. I haven't seen that one, and I wasn't a big fan of Roanoke, but I've not hated any of them.
If I remember, the most recent was Apocalypse.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one either. I'm behind. Yeah, the last one I saw was Hotel, or Roanoke, whichever one was after.
Roanoke is.
I didn't care for that one, but I didn't hate it. Another good one, because I'm kind of gathering you like anthology shows, is Creep Show. Creep Show came back, and it's by a lot of the people who had worked on the movie. A lot of Greg Nicotero, who's a big special effects guy, who's a big name in horror. He's behind a lot of it. So far, that's been great. That's on Shudder. I highly recommend that one. And also Shudder, Joe Bob Briggs, that's gonna get a second season. And like, I have not scheduled my life around a show since Buffy. Like, it used to be back in the day, like anyone knew it's Tuesday, she's busy. Like, I don't record Buffy. I watch it live. Like, like everyone knew back in the day, like I was not doing anything on a Tuesday night. It's Buffy. So
I used to do that for Walking Dead, but then something got just super spoiled for me.
Oh no.
Have you caught up?
No, I'm way behind.
What season?
I think 3 or 4. I'm way behind.
Oh, okay.
And I keep getting confused too, because I read the comics and then I'm like, wait, didn't that happen? I don't know. I just need to kind of start over. Yeah, I need to finish True Blood too. I'm behind on a lot of shows. Yeah, like I own all of True Blood too, and I'm still not finished it. But what I was going to say was Joe Bob Briggs, like that was Friday nights. And yeah, like even though it's streaming and I guess I could watch it the next day, like it's like an event. Like I love it. I've got my whole mutant fam on Twitter, and then like kind of during like little breaks in between, or if it's a movie I've already seen, like parts of the movie that are a bit slower, like we're all tweeting out and stuff. And then Darcy the Mail Girl will tweet you back too, which is great because when I was a kid, I'd watch Monster Vision, and I didn't have any friends who liked horror movies. And it just kind of felt like it was just, the the thing that made me weird. But watching Monster Vision, you know, I knew there were people all over the country who were also watching this, you know, and so you kind of felt like the solidarity, like my people are out there. You know, and now it's the same experience, but I can actually talk to them on Twitter, and we can make jokes about the movies and comment about what's going on, and it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm. You can reach out to them and actually get a word back.
It's fun, or, you know, somebody makes a good crack about something in the movie, like, you know, kind of Mystery Science Theatering it a bit. It's just really fun.
Oh, I'm looking at a movie list here. Have you seen Green Room?
Yeah, that's brilliant. That was, I think it was mine and Danny's #1 movie of that year. It was a couple years back. Really good.
I had waited too long, like long enough that it showed up on Netflix that long.
Are you on Letterboxd?
Letterboxd.
Okay, so anybody who's a horror movie reviewer, you know, really does lists or anything like that, I highly recommend you get Letterboxd. Letterboxd is social media for movies. And so you can log all the movies you watch on there, but it also has an easy ability to make lists. So, like, I keep a list of my favorites for the year, which helps me. On Horror Addicts, we do kind of an Oscars called the Oscars. And we also do, like, our best ofs for the year and stuff. Or just if I feel like making a list of my favorite werewolf movies, like, I can do it on Letterboxd. But it's also nice, too, because then you can share those lists with, like, friends and stuff. And I've got lists of all sorts of stuff and, like, my best ofs for each year. So if you go and find me on Letterboxd, I've got tons of recommendations for you.
Fantastic.
I'll send you a link. Yeah, I get... I don't know. I get, like, weird inspirations. I'm like, you know, I should make a list of every movie I've ever seen where someone's dong gets cut off. Because, you know, I got time.
Hostel 2, and
it's on there. I think I have the largest penectomy list on Letterboxd. Not trying to brag or nothing, but I think I do.
Penectomy.
Yep.
Wait. So, quick question: what started that list? Like, did you just watch one and you're like, I wonder how many there are, and then it kind of spiraled out of control?
Because there's a lot that I was recommending to people, because I think a lot of people had said that they hadn't seen a lot of, like, male nudity in movies and stuff, and I was like, but have you seen the reanimated dong that fights a zombie rat in Beyond Reanimator? Like, the movie's crap, but that part's good. Or, you know, there's the penectomy where the old guy's dong gets ripped off in Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, which, by the way, great zombie movie. But, yeah, and then people were like, well, what are some other ones you've seen? And I'm like, I got tons of good penectomy movies I've seen, so I just made a list.
You know what? I can't think of a better reason.
I have a whole list of them. I might have to do a list on my channel one of these days, because it's something people ask me about a lot.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, like, known as, you know, the person who knows a lot about male genitalia in movies. For some reason, you know, we all get our thing.
You know what? Sometimes you just find something you're good at, I guess.
I guess so. I'm just a lexicon for dismembered dongs. Another reason people probably ask me about it is I do actually, like, if I had money and I could just do crazy stuff, I would open a museum of all the prop dongs that have been used in movies. Like, wouldn't that be cool? Like, I got this one from I Spit on Your Grave, and this one from Hostel 2, and this one from Teeth. And I could have them all in a museum. They'd be all like, it'd be awesome. I'd go see that.
Just call it the Richard Museum.
Exactly.
What's in the Richard Museum? Just walk in and find out.
Yep.
Figure it out.
I think.
Well, was the
I also just think we need more, because there are whole subgenres of horror dedicated to just TNA, and I'm fine with that. I fully expect when I see a slasher movie, you know, there should be boobs. It's part of that subgenre. I'm just saying, can we get a little more male nudity? You know, drop a penectomy in there for the ladies.
So, have you seen the movie Creep?
Which one? There's one that's in a subway, and then there's one that's kind of a found footagey one.
Found footage one.
Yes, that one's brilliant with the guy from The League in it. That one's so good.
Have you seen Creep 2?
Yes. That's like the most romantic movie I've ever seen.
So I have this bad habit. Like, I'm great with faces, but I'm terrible with names.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see an actor, whenever I see them in another film, I'm like, oh, that guy, like I see Chris Evans in another film, I'm like, oh yeah, he played Johnny Storm, and like he was.
You associate him by the other movies he's done, yeah.
But then one of my roommates, he watches The League, and there's a scene where you see that actor's dick in Creep 2.
Yeah.
And so that was my knee-jerk reaction. I walked in, and they're like, fantasy football, and they're drinking beer. I'm like, and I just pointed at the screen and went, I've seen that guy's dick.
No, The League's actually really funny, because I didn't think I'd like it because I wasn't into fantasy football, but that show's really funny. Jean Lajoie, who's like a Canadian comedian, songwriter, he's in that show. He plays Taco. He's great. But yeah, Mark Duplass is really funny too, from Creep. That movie's just great because it just pushes your limits of how uncomfortable can you be, and like it reminds you of like every situation where someone's kind of pushing the limits, but they haven't gone far enough to where you say something, but they're making you uncomfortable. And it's that whole, at what point do I say something, or am I just misunderstanding? And I think we've all been in that situation where like, this is awkward and uncomfortable. Do I say something, or am I a dick? Like the social awkwardness of dealing with other people, especially eccentric people.
And like, even what I love about that is like, the only moment when you find out something's amiss is when like the other character Aaron starts to figure out that Joseph's full of shit.
Yeah, and the movie's so good too, because like the guy, like he seems genuinely kind of nice, but he's still a sociopath. Like he's still like just does not like he will still mess you up. Like it's so bizarre because like he seems so in a way like harmless, but he is a killer. And there's some genuinely really scary moments in that movie too, which again just makes it really effective. Like there's a part where the guy who's the filmographer is on the phone, I think, but you see Mark Duplass's character in the window behind it, and it's just it's really creepy.
Yeah, and then there's that moment where Aaron's trying to leave, and Mark Duplass's character is standing in front of the door with the wolf mask on, and he's not moving
the peach
or
fuzz,
saying anything. Which
was originally what he was going to call that movie too, but yeah, that movie is really good.
Well, like the I like the what I like is that there are jump scares in that film, but it's purely for like his entertainment.
Yes,
it's not just to spook you. It's because he finds like it to be really funny.
Yeah,
and that moment where you see the Aaron, the filmographer, sitting on the bench. And the Mark Duplass's character just calmly walks up behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you do for work, but I have a lot of these kind of experiences in my job. I teach ESL to kids in China. Okay. And we can... Like, if there's certain things that's like like if a kid decides they're going to go to the bathroom or something, you got to call, we have a fireman, and they delete the footage, and I just have to say class is canceled. This kind of thing doesn't happen regularly, but there are times where it's not quite that, and I'm just like, what do I do? Like, this is awkward. Like, I've had, like, classes where there's, like, dad shirtless hanging out his boxers in the back. It's not nudity, but I'm uncomfortable, like that weird social awkwardness, but then you're also being paid to do a job. So like, I think that movie played on that really well, where you have like this responsibility to do something, but you're uncomfortable and you're not sure if it's quite crossed the line yet to where you need to leave.
Yep. And I used to work overnights at Walmart, which I don't know.
I've seen the people of Walmart websites. That must have been interesting.
So, it's funny you mention that because somebody did ask me about that when I worked there.
Yeah?
So a guy pulled me aside and he's like, hey, do the workers here, do they take photos of like weird people and put them on that People at Walmart website? And I looked at him like, dude, okay, here's the thing. There's a difference between working here and shopping here. If you're shopping here and you see a guy going ape shit in the parking lot, of course you're going to want to take a video or a photo and put it on the website. Mm-hmm. But if you work here and you see that, you're like, of course you're here. What
Exactly.
here?
Yeah, my husband, he gets off work around like 2 a.m, and Walmart's the only thing open, and he says like all the eccentrics of town decide to do their shopping in the wee hours of the morning.
Oh, so there are certain parts.
Like we have a guy in town that everyone calls Mr. Peanut who like wears a top hat and a monocle. Yeah, you'll find him there. There's
somebody similar that goes to the one I used to work at.
Yeah.
He's this like 6'5", big bearded, super thin African American dude, and he wears this long black trench coat, and he has like a fishing cap on.
Yeah.
And then he carries around a giant ivory horn, and he walks around singing gospel to himself.
Oh boy.
And the first time I ever heard him or saw him, I thought I was hallucinating because I worked overnights. And it was the first night I ever did, so I got off at 7 in the morning, and I sat down on the bench, and I'm waiting for a ride, and I just hear in the distance, purr, purr, and just like, holy, what? Oh, it's like broad daylight, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm typically working around like 3 a.m. Beijing time, so... Yeah, we were like, am I just tired or is this what I think this is?
And like he finally comes walking by and he's singing gospel to himself, and he goes, hey, what's up, man? And I'm waiting for like he's gonna give me a sermon, isn't he? Is this gonna start here now? And he was actually a super nice dude, but he would show up at like 2 a.m. at random intervals and blow the horn inside the store.
Oh God.
So I would be like working in an aisle and like stocking cereal. That just, but it got to a point where I was like looking for a unicorn. I'm like, where is he? Where is he? I heard him.
Oh boy, yeah. We used to have this guy who I would try to find around town. He would like dress as like, I can't remember, but it was like a old timey type. Soldier type guy, but he had a hot dog stand and it had the best freaking hot dogs, but you never knew where it was in town. So like there'd be like weekends where I'd be like, I'm gonna find him today. I need to get a hot dog. Like, they were so good.
I need one.
They were really good. Okay, and the guy looked like the Quaker Oats guy, so it was kind of amazing. And he was like fully dressed up.
That's fair.
It was worth it when you found him. Oh my gosh, you want to hear something really funny? So
sure.
We have a lot of individuals in our town, which is probably why I fit in here just fine. But we had a superhero. We had a Deadpool, which is kind of strange because Deadpool isn't known for being very nice to people.
Yeah.
He killed a kid who took his wallet in the comics. But we had a guy who dressed up as Deadpool, and like when it was rainy, he would hand out umbrellas. He would help people cross the street. If you needed help moving and Deadpool was around, you could ask him. He came to like all the sporting events. Like he came to our roller derby games and stuff, and like would cheer and stuff. But yeah, he was just like the friendly neighborhood Deadpool. It was crazy. Well, it was awesome.
If I remember, there is an actual phenomenon of people dressing up like superheroes, like actual trained people.
This isn't even like the big city. Like I live in, I guess what equates to the suburbs in the middle of the mountains. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I live in Twin Peaks. I don't live that far from it.
Well, like, I think there's one in Seattle that's, God, I can't remember his name, Phoenix Jones.
Oh, yeah?
And that guy is the real deal. He has, like, a bulletproof vest on.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
And he's got, like, a cowl that is, like... It looks like he's just bald with it on, but so it's
he's like
kick-ass. Yeah, but he's actually like decked out. It's not just like cloth.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
And he's like trained in MMA. And the thing is, like, I watched a documentary on it recently where, like, when people go out dressed as superheroes, like, there's actually a fair amount of them that actually work with law enforcement. So it's like they're not there to like run up and beat up the mugger and then run off into the night. They're like, all right, you stay there, handcuff him, wait for the police. Mm-hmm. And it's like really interesting, and a good amount of them do humanitarian work.
That's awesome.
and they show this really interesting scene where it's a divide of like people dressing up as comic book superheroes versus the actual superheroes, where it's like, here's Comic-Con, it's people like, dressed as Spider-Man and Superman, like, woo, we're having fun. And then it's like 3 miles away, and it shows people in superhero, like authentic superhero garb, handing out food to homeless people.
Yeah, it's kind of like the stuff our Deadpool did. Nobody knew who he was. I still don't know who he is.
You know what? There's a point, I think, for every person who does that where you don't want to know.
I want to know. Deadpool, if you're listening, please message Freezman and just
pardon?
I won't. Frezzman?
Yes. Don't worry, everybody does that.
It's kind of an original name, dude.
I know.
All right, well, message the Frezzman. Tell me your identity. I will not tell a soul.
I gotta go hunting for him now. Mm-hmm. Don't be worried if you see on top of a Deadpool wander around your local streets. Don't be worried if you see a pink masked.
Yeah, where did the inspiration for your mask come from? I really do like your mask.
It's a design that I've really liked for a long time because I'm a fan of kind of like minimalism.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've seen from a lot of other people who do kind of the mask thing on YouTube, a lot of times it's way over designed. There's just too much going on.
My boy always wears a mask, but he's got like 80 masks. He always wears a different one.
Yeah. Well, I was actually gonna bring that up. I'm like, if you, your husband, and people over at Horror Addicts, if you guys are ever down to collab, let me know.
Yeah. I just started a new job, so I haven't done a whole lot of much lately, but October's coming up, so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a horror channel. I just interview a lot of people in that community.
We're good people.
But, yeah. I mean, I'd hope so, yeah.
The horror community is one of the best parts about doing YouTube. I mean, it's just like, because we went to conventions and, we go to CryptoCon every year where we do panels and stuff. But it's awesome because it's always been horror summer camp because it's the same people who are panelists every year and stuff. And we get to see old friends that we haven't talked to all year. And you meet new people and you just love them instantly because they're great. Because horror people are most of the time, I would say, awesome. And horror YouTube community is pretty much the same thing. It's like, oh, you like horror? Yeah. I like horror too. We're best friends now. So it's awesome. I've made so many really great friends in the horror community. And I feel like we look out for each other.
But then you get those, that incredibly small subgroup of horror fans where they like scary movies just a little too much.
I haven't met them yet.
I've run into a few when I used to work at Walmart where it was like, oh man, yeah, I saw this one scary movie, and then they're like, yeah, I really enjoyed that film. It was really, really interesting. I'm like, dude, you gotta fucking smile or something, dude, please.
That sounds like me without the smiling. So if you smile, then it's okay.
So if you at least emote just a little bit, it's fine.
Yeah. Emote, and you can be as creepy as you want.
But, when it comes to my mask, I didn't want to overdo it. I didn't want anything too sparkly. And I wanted, complementary colors and whatnot. So, pink and blue are complementary. I wanted something light colored but non-threatening. Plus, I like the color pink.
Pink is great.
Yeah. Or as, your standard, Fred Meyers t-shirt will have you believe only tough guys wear pink. Ugh. Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that shirt around.
Oh, yeah?
And then, the entire idea... So, there's this guy I know that he's strangely argumentative for no reason. He'll play the devil's advocate on a fact.
On a what?
You could tell him that the sky is blue, and he's like, is it really?
Oh my god, my son does that, but just to annoy me.
Yeah, but he, means it, and it is infuriating. And there was a day where he stopped by, and I I have several different masks, and the general rule for the mask is, it can change shape, but the pattern is always the same.
Mm-hmm.
So always, pink with blue stripes. And, so have you seen the, newer Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies?
The Michael Bay ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know Casey Jones?
Yeah, it's the guy who's Arrow.
Yeah, I found a version of that version of Casey Jones's mask in a Spirits Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And I need my masks to be a little bit tough. Like, the problem is with a lot of Halloween masks, they're, like, really flimsy, really thin plastic.
Yeah.
But that one I found was, like, really thick, like, Jason mask thick plastic.
Yeah.
And so I was painting that up.
I have a NECA mask that's, like, half an inch thick. That's Jason.
Oh. My dad bought that replica of the Part 3 mask.
Mm-hmm.
Of Part 3 Jason's mask, and I was so jealous. I'm like, can I have it? And he's like, no.
Yeah, technically the mask isn't mine, it's my kid's. But my kid has an epic mask collection.
You know what? I might have to stop by one
yeah.
of these days.
It's pretty impressive. He's got a huge collection. He's never been unmasked on Horror Addicts, so you can see a lot of his masks on that show.
Nor have I yet. Well, once in a while I'll get a question from somebody. It's like, hey, you need to do an unmask me? Never. Ever, ever.
Yeah, he needs to, just because he didn't want people to know his identity. He needs to not even let me post pictures of him on, like, my Facebook, which is private. But
I do that too. My wife's like, oh, look at this cute selfie. I'm like, yeah. It's great. It's not going on Twitter, though.
Yeah, that's how my son is.
Like, it can go on Facebook, because I'm just me on Facebook, and I don't even go on there that much, but as soon as it gets to Twitter, I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah, you and Laws have a lot in common.
Like I said, we gotta collab sometime.
Sounds good.
But I've been trying to get a mask, and
we also have two really big events that we do every year. We do the Oscars, which is like the horror Oscars, but we do it like an Oscar award show where it's live, but we have pre-recorded presenters who present each of the awards, and the awards are determined by our Horror Academy, which is basically like everybody we know who's a massive horror fan from Crypticon and HorrorTube and just everywhere, and they all vote on the awards, and then they're nominated by, just everyone on our social media. So, we always get tons of presenters from all over the internet to do that. And then we also do the Creepy Channel Crawl, which is last year it was 28 hours. That nearly killed me. But it's usually 24 hours of live streams, an hour on each channel. We get tons of different horror tubers to participate in that. So there are those things. And then we just do a lot of collabs, because collabs are fun.
I've been trying... The thing is, like, I've been doing YouTube for a couple of years, but there's certain aspects I'm certainly still new to, and one of those is collaborations, because I don't know how to go about that.
I remember we hadn't been doing Horror Addicts for very long, and our first horror tube friend was Brian Barnes, and he's like, would you like to do a collab? And we're like, what is a collab? And what do we have to do? Like, we had no idea. We had just started doing YouTube. We're like, okay, what do we do? Like, he had to walk us through everything. We had no idea.
And, like, I've been thinking about it, like, trying to contact some people, but I don't know who would get back to me.
In my experience, it doesn't hurt to ask people, and usually if people have time, they'll get back to you. Like, I have... Yeah. YouTuber friends who have over 1 million, and I have some that have less than 100, and they're all pretty nice people. So never be intimidated to reach out to people, because if they have the time, they're usually pretty cool.
And like, that's how it works on this show on Demasked, is like, it's really whoever gets back to me first.
Yeah, if you ever want like a list of people that you can contact, I know a lot of people who'd be good.
You know what? I would actually love that.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to get, more around the block as far as like getting a hold of people. Like, I did one recently with Jason Takes Omegle. Have you heard of him?
Yeah. He's been on the Oscars and stuff. We're friends.
Yeah, he's actually a pretty cool dude. Well, like, was it from, I think it was from here to where he lives, it's like, what, a day and a half?
In fact, yeah, in the Oscars one year, he did the whole thing as Jason. It was actually really, really good. Like, he does good work.
Well, when I set up an interview with him, it was kind of, not a pain, like, as far as inconvenience goes, but I'm, like, trying to do the math in time. It's like, oh, I'm free at Tuesday at noon, so I'm like, Monday at 9 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, from doing Creepy Channel Crawl and the Oscars, I've gotten really good at time conversions, and then my job is 15 hours ahead. So
Okay.
I've gotten pretty good at it. And then my family is all 10 hours ahead because I moved here from England, so everyone's still over there.
Well, I've been an Oregonian all several millennia that I've been around.
Not a bad thing. I've been here since I was about 13, so it was a long time ago. But yeah, my aunts and uncles and everybody's still over there. So when I call my cousin, I have to be like, okay, 10 hours ahead. Okay, yeah, she's sleeping.
Actually, I had a quick question. Because you guys do a lot of stuff on camera, and I've been trying to find a camera, and I have this little, like $90 camcorder thing, and it doesn't work all that great. So what do you guys like? What's your camera setup?
I would recommend getting a DSLR because you can always upgrade the lens, and usually the lens is going to make more of a quality difference than any camera. Like, we just have a Canon Rebel, like an old one, like a T3, I think. But we've gotten better lenses over time and stuff. But we still use the one that I came with a lot. But yeah, I got that for like I think $300, and that's been our primary camera for years, and it also just takes good photos and stuff too.
Because I'm not trying to record anything like 4K. I just
it wouldn't do 4K,
1080.
but you could definitely do 1080.
Yeah,
I'd recommend a DSLR because you can always get, like if you wanted a wide angle lens or something, you can always add more to it,
Sure thing.
But if you got like a point and shoot, you're kind of stuck with what you got.
Mm-hmm. And I figured, well, the Amazon listing's like, oh no, it does 1080, and then I check the resolution the minute I get it, and it's like, oh, it's 720.
Yeah, ours is a T3i. It's like an old one, but it still works.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at ones here on Amazon. There's one for the 324, and it's a T6.
Yeah, that's one of the newer ones too. So, and it's about the same price as if you got a T3i. It'd be like $300. So yeah, for like $300, you can get a good camera. It's gonna last you for years. We've done Horror Addicts for about 5 years now, and we've had that same camera for most of it. Before that, we had like a little point and shoot that we still use that too. So
nice.
These days, some people even do stuff on their phones. So technology's changing.
Well, what gets me is I get that camcorder that does 720, but then my phone does 1080.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who do it, film on their phones, and it turns out great. I like the DSLRs because you can also really customize it. Like, I like to do a lot of different things with lighting, and so I like having that manual mode because I want it to be a little bit darker instead of having it like auto adjust everything for me.
Well, so I think when it comes to like trying to get an idea of like what what equipment you should get, I jumped the gun as far as like where to look, because I went looking at like Corridor Digital. You know those guys? They do VFX work, but they use like incredibly high-end stuff. And so I was watching like a camera breakdown video that they did. I'm like, oh my god, it's like $1,000. How am I gonna save up for that? And it was just a tad daunting because I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah,
But,
you just build. I mean, when we started, we were editing things on Windows Movie Maker, and we had just like $100 point and shoot camera. And then, we just... Uh-oh, I think my thing stopped recording.
uh-oh.
Don't know when that was. Maybe it's still recording. I don't know.
I hope so. Actually, I wanted to ask you real quick. What time do you have to go?
I probably should go real soon because I have to work tonight.
Sure thing. I try to get across with some of the people I interview. I'm like, if you gotta go, just tell me. I'm not, offended.
I think it's still recording. Hopefully, it's really long, so.
Yeah.
I think it's recording.
I think, yeah, my Audacity's still going too.
Alright.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up real quick. If you could,
I was gonna tell you, we had like Windows Movie Maker, and then I got like a $60 Limo Studio lighting. But just do it bit by bit. Like, I think a lot of people think they need to have the best of everything when they get started, but I think, long as you have good audio, people have very, very low patience for bad audio. But you can, again, our nice mic went out, and we use like a $20 clip-on mic usually.
Yeah,
you can get good audio cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Long as you have good audio and people find you entertaining, you don't need to have like a 4K camera.
Let's see. I think with that, we will wrap this up. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's been fun. Talked about a lot of stuff: superheroes, movies, Mr. Peanut, all kinds of things. Walmart.
horror movie dick destruction,
exactly.
The basics.
We covered everything.
It's
been a journey.
This is a multifaceted channel here.
Yes.
But I have one last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If asked again, would you be open to coming back on and being a return guest?
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic. And I'd love to talk to, you, your husband, and everybody on Horror Addicts.
Yeah, Danny's off Sundays and Mondays, so just let us know. Yeah.
I've mostly got Mondays through Wednesdays.
We keep weird hours because I work Beijing times, like midnight to 7 a.m. And he gets off around 2 a.m. So we usually sleep during the day and are up at night.
But thank you again. If you could I get that list of YouTubers off of you after we're done here?
Yeah, I'll just message you some.
Yeah, just
like people who I think would be good.
Shoot me a list. Thank you again for stopping by, and thank you at home for listening. If you listened all the way through, these episodes tend to run long because there's no real point or real starting topic. Whenever I interview somebody, it's like I just want to get to know the person.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
good stuff.
So thank you very much. This has been Demasked. My name is Frezzman once again, and I will see you next time.